Hi guys, welcome to my channel. So, I recently made a video about reading Colleen Hoover for the first time. I'll link it in the comments so you can go watch that when you're done here. That video was about ugly love and me having one of the worst reading experiences in my life. So, what did I do after that? Did I go outside, touch grass, move on with my life? No, obviously. Like any obviously intelligent person, I got another book of hers when it became available at my library. Yeah! Anyway, today we're here talking about Coho's most popular book, It Ends With Us. If you enjoy this video, then please be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Thank you! Also, major trigger warning, this book revolves around domestic abuse, so obviously we will be talking about that and things such as like hitting, shoving, screaming, head injuries, bleeding, such sexual harassment, and sexual assault. So if you are not in the headspace to be able to listen to anything related to that, please click off of this video. The way this is going to work is I took notes while reading this, so you know, every time that, like, I got to a point where I just, like, couldn't keep it in my head any longer and I just had to, like, get it out on the paper, like, that's what where we'll be going. So sometimes we'll go, like, an individual chapter, sometimes we'll cover multiple chapters, but we are going to recap what happened and then give my thoughts throughout the book. And then at the end, we'll go through my entire thoughts of the book in general. So, with that, let's begin. Chapter 1. I made it one chapter in before I had to stop and give some notes. That's a great sign. Clearly. But now, literally, when I was reading the first chapter, I literally had to put it down multiple times because there were just so many instances where I was just thinking, like, what the fuck am I reading? So, we literally opened the book by low-key demonizing suicidal people. Yes, you heard that correctly. Like, literally, let me just read to y'all. This is like how the book starts. Quote, as I sit here with one foot on either side of the ledge, looking down from 12 stories above the streets of Boston, I can't help but think about suicide. Not my own. I like my life enough and want to see it through. I'm more focused on other people and how they ultimately come to the decision to just end their own lives. Do they ever regret it? In the moment after letting go and the second before they make impact, there has to be a little bit of remorse in that brief free fall. Do they look at the ground as it rushes towards them and think, well, crap, this was a bad idea? Somehow, I think not. End quote. Great start. Yeah, good going, Colleen. Low key demonizing suicidal people. That's just amazing way to open up your books. Wow. I was thinking this while reading Ugly Love, but now I'm really starting to believe that half the time Colleen just like writes her intrusive thoughts or whatever into the book and then they get published. Anyway, we start off with Miss Lily Blossom Bloom, who wants to own a flower shop, by the way, sitting on a rooftop to relax after her father's funeral. Basically, what happens in this chapter is that the love interest, Ryle, also comes up to the rooftop to relax after a bad day at work, and the two of them like start chatting and flirting before he's called back to the hospital that he works at. So that's basically what happens. It's mainly just a way to give some background on these two in an info dumpy way without making it feel like an info dump because they're talking and getting to know each other. But there are several things in addition to the bit about suicidal people that made me stop and pause for a bit. So let's just run through them. First, or second, I guess, I'm already getting creeper vibes from this Ryle guy, and he's supposed to be the love interest, and it's only chapter 1. Now, he is introduced storming onto the rooftop and kicking the shit out of a chair to let off some steam, which I'm bringing up because it shows he does have some potential anger issues that we might see later on. But by itself, I don't necessarily have a problem with it simply because, he didn't know Lily was on the rooftop also and thought he was like completely alone. So, okay, some people when they're alone and they, have some minor anger issues, they, let off steam by just kind of punching something or like kicking something, like I think everyone's done that at least once. On its own, I can kind of overlook it, but yeah. But what gave me the ick was when he spots her on the ledge of the roof and immediately jumps into controlling slash white knight mode, basically demanding that she get off before she falls and literally keeps pestering Lily to get off the ledge until eventually she does. Ugh, fine, if it gets you to shut up, I'll get off the stupid ledge. Like, it just gave controlling energy, like, mind your business. It'd be one thing if she was, like, standing on the ledge looking like she was about to jump, but she was literally just sitting there enjoying the view, so what is your problem, sir? Like, then later on, towards the end of the chapter, when they are sitting next to each other in lounge chairs, he makes his move and asks if she'd like be interested in a one night stand. Lily says no, but he still pulls her chair closer to him and proceeds to put his hand up her shirt and like touch her bra. Jail, electric chair, firing squad. No, no. It's like, but now the book wants to play it off like, oh, it's okay, right? Because even though he's sexually harassing and assaulting her, she likes it. She's turned on by him grabbing her bra after telling him no. It's not assault, it's sexy. Colleen, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm not even gonna bother saying what kind of people frequently use the term "it's not assault, you liked it" excuse, especially in court, because y'all can figure that out for yourselves. Like, y'all can figure out what kind of people use that kind of excuse all the time. Oh, but we're not done yet. So, in the chapter, Ryle is smoking weed on the rooftop. Fine, nothing wrong with weed, and we're in a public outdoor setting, whatever. But this is where we see Miss Hoover demonizing like weed smokers, because multiple times in the chapter, Lily will make internal comments about how it's bizarre that a neurosurgeon is a pot smoker. And it's just so shocking because she'd never associate someone intelligent with being a pot smoker. Yes, she literally says that. Let me pull up one quote in particular to highlight what we're dealing with. Quote, stylish, well-spoken, and smart, and smokes pot. If this were an SAT question, I would ask which one doesn't belong. End quote. So basically, in Colleen's mind, sexual assault is okay, but smoking pot is for the lower class scum. Got it. Glad we cleared that up. Yeah. And then what really got to me was when the two of them are chatting, and Lily talks about how her dad was very abusive to her mom and would always hit her and stuff, domestic violence. Now, I'll read what happens during this and keep in mind that Lily was a literal child when the abuse happens. Okay? Like, she was a literal child when the abuse would happen in her household. Quote, when I got older, I realized that not doing something about it made me just as guilty. I spent most of my life hating him for being such a bad person, but I'm not so sure I'm much better. Maybe we're both bad people. End quote. Now, I understand that most abuse victims of any kind usually go through a period where they blame themselves for what happened. Oh, why did I do this? If I hadn't done this, if I had done this, then instead of that. This was the universe punishing me, all that kind of stuff, right? I get that. That's normal. But I'm pretty sure most people don't go from knowing their abuser is evil, and yes, Lily was a victim of the domestic abuse also because she lived in that household and had to witness it all throughout her childhood. But I don't think most people go from knowing their abuser is bad, aka her dad, to then years later being like, oh, actually, it was my fault also. Like, Now, in the hands of a competent writer, this could potentially be a story about Lily, like, numbing herself to the trauma for so long and now finally starting to work through things and basically going, like, in a full circle of knowing it wasn't her fault to thinking it was and wishing she could have changed things in the past to, like, accepting what happened and learning to live and work through the trauma knowing it wasn't her fault. But I know enough about Colleen to know that's not where we're going with this. It just felt really trashy and victim blamey to me. And as someone who grew up in an abusive household with a dad that acted the same way Lily's dad did, it really felt like Colleen was basically pointing the finger at me and saying, "Oh, you should have done more to stop him when you were 12. You're just as guilty as him." And even though I know that's not true because I was also being abused as a kid, it really just disgusted and angered me to read Colleen demonize victims of abuse like that, especially children. But that's just personally how I interpreted it. Anyway. But then, what immediately made me even more angry and in shock was what immediately followed. Quote, Ryle looks over at me with a thoughtful expression. Lily, he says pointedly, there is no such thing as bad people. We're all just people who sometimes do bad things. I opened my mouth to respond, but his words make me silent. We're all just people who sometimes do bad things. I guess that's true in a way. No one is exclusively bad, nor is anyone exclusively good. Some are just forced to work harder at suppressing the bad. End quote. I don't think I need to explain why someone explaining that their father beat their mother endlessly and then immediately responding with, honey, no one is a bad person. Sometimes people just do bad things, but that doesn't make them bad, is a horrid and evil thing to say. And keep in mind that this is only the first chapter, and we're supposed to, like, believe that these two can eventually fall in love. Like, obviously not stay together, spoiler alert, like, not stay together in the end, but, like, at some point, they're compatible enough and attracted to each other enough and, work well together enough to eventually fall in love and get married at some point. Like, but now we're all already dealing with such scummy and horrid behavior. Like, wow. Chapters 2 through 6. So we're about 6 to 8 months after the first chapter. Yes, we literally did a time jump right after the first chapter. Great. And this part is mainly about Lily Blossom Bloom opening her flower shop and Ryle being creepy, but framing it as pining. Plus, we also introduce the infamous Ellen journals. Lily uses the inheritance money she got after her dad died to buy a building in Boston for her flower shop. She meets this lady named Alyssa, who I absolutely loved while reading this and was the only person that I liked. And she becomes Lily's employee slash friend and helps her clean and decorate the building. On the first day in the flower shop, Lily injures her ankle, so Alyssa calls her husband and brother for like help because her brother is a doctor. Lo and behold, Alyssa's brother is Ryle. Shocking! And this is the first time him and Lily have seen each other since that night they met half a year ago on the rooftop. He helps her with her ankle a bit, and this whole thing is basically just to reintroduce Ryle into the story. Yeah. So then, about a week later, yes, we keep doing time jumps. Time jump, time jump, time jump. There's lots of time jumps in the story. Anyway, so then about a week later, Ryle shows up to her apartment unannounced, and she's confused, like how he even found her, but apparently he remembered what building she told him she lived in the first night they met. I feel like I worded that weirdly, so okay. So the first night that they met, she was on the rooftop of his building, his apartment building, because it was tall and had a good view of the city. Then, when they were talking, she pointed to a building across the city and said, "Oh, that's where I live." So he apparently remembered which building it was that she pointed to all this time, and now like shows up at her place, which is interesting considering like all throughout the next few chapters he's like obsessed with her and is like if you were obsessed with her and you knew where she was this whole time, like Like, you're not above showing up to someone's house unannounced and being creepy. So why didn't you just do this earlier? I don't know. Like just get the creeper stuff out of the way sooner rather than later. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't. If you know, you know. If you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, right? Anyway, so he's now at her apartment unannounced. Just Ryle is at Lily's apartment now, and this man gets creepy. He goes on and on about, oh, I can't stop thinking about you. Like, I still want to fuck you. And begs her to have sex with him. And she repeatedly tells him to, like, get the fuck out. No, not in the mood. Go away. But he refuses to take no for an answer. Great. Don't we just love that? Great. This man is whining. This man is literally whining. This man is getting in her face. This man gets on his knees and begs. Which, first of all, you look like a fucking clown. Ryle, you are a clown. You are an absolute loser on your knees begging a stranger to have sex with you. Get up. Get up. Second of all, she's already told you no, and then no again like 5 times afterwards. This is not consensual. This is literally not consensual. Yet we are supposed to believe that this is like, oh, just cute little pining and desperate flirting. Like, Colleen, shut the fuck up, please, stop. So, Lily eventually says yes just to get him to leave and goes to the bathroom to freshen up. When she comes out, he's dead ass asleep in her bed, like snoring and everything. And she's rightfully upset at his ridiculous ass for being a fucking idiot, but also thank God he fell asleep because it literally would have been sexual assault in my book if anything had actually happened. He still harassed her though. Like, let's make that clear. He still sexually harassed her, but you know. But the next morning is her soft opening of the flower shop, and guess who the first customer is? Ryle? Correct! Yeah, just it's giving stalker vibes the same way that Miles from Ugly Love did. Like he's kind of giving stalker vibes. He is. He buys some lilies as a gift for someone and writes on a card like, make it stop, make it stop. And while Alyssa doesn't know what's going on, Lily knows exactly that he bought the flowers for her, which, I'm sorry, my ass would have put them damn flowers back on the display rack and sold them again instead of taking them into my office, cause, oh, they're pretty and he bought them for me even though I'm the seller. What? That was so fucking stupid. She literally sells the fucking flowers that you're buying for her. What? Girl, just put them back on the display rack and sell them again. Like, that was so fucking stupid. Oh, and there's also the Ellen journals. Okay, so Lily is going through old belongings throughout the chapters now and is reading these like old diaries from when she was in high school about her and this boy named Atlas, I think. Yeah, Atlas. Basically, when she was 15, a senior boy in her school became homeless and started living in an abandoned house in her neighborhood. And she started like helping him out, like bringing him food and clothes and letting him shower at her place. And they became friends. If it ended right there with just them being friends, like okay, that's fine. I fully support that. But I knowing what I know what happens later in the book, I'm just like, no. But anyway, we're not talking about later in the book right now. We're talking about right here and now. So at this point, I was keeping my guard up because I had heard that he did some creepy stuff and messed up stuff later in the book. So I was like, this is supposed to be the good love interest? I'm keeping my guard up for right now, but we'll get to that stuff later. Anyway, thoughts so far on, the book so far. Ryle is fucking creepy and disgusting. Like, he literally showed up to her place and refused to leave until he wore her down enough and basically forced her to agree to have sex with him. And he keeps saying, like, how she has such a hold on him and he can't think straight anymore and he needs to have sex with her and for her to, like, end this hold she has over him and blah, blah, blah. Like, It's giving stalker, it's giving manipulator, it's giving sexual harassment, it's giving attempted sexual assault. He's just gross. And the thing is, Colleen isn't writing this behavior as gross and creepy. She's writing it as simply him pining over her. Like, oh, like, oh, I just want you so bad. Oh, it's so cute. No, no, like, oh, he's annoying, but he wants her so bad. Like, she's got this sexy hold over him. She's making him crazy over her. If he was written to be a creepy stalker that manipulates her into being with him, I'd be like, okay, let's see where this goes. This could be an interesting story and discussion. But simply writing his behavior so far as him being down bad and pining over her and being cute, Miss Hoover, it's just romanticizing abuse. But apparently that's what she's known for, so I can't say I'm surprised. I mean, let's look at Ugly Love again, and from what I've heard about Verity, and from what I've heard about her other books too, like, let's look at the track record. Anyway, Alyssa, she's an icon. She's a legend. She is the moment. Is that co-host thing to just like make one likable character and everyone else complete shit in her books? Because the only person that I liked in Ugly Love was Cap the Doorman, and the only person I like in this book so far is Alyssa the Bestie. So maybe this is like a trend with her. I don't know. But yes, I love Miss Rich Pinterest obsessed girly, and I feel like in the hands of a competent writer, she could actually be an even better character with like more actual depth. Because like what if the reason she wants a job even though her husband makes a seven figure salary and she can buy like whatever luxury she wants is because she's trying to get her own income stream so she can like leave him cuz he's nasty also. Like I don't know, like it's just one thought, but I feel like there are things that you could do with Alyssa to make her even, more interesting and have more depth. But anyway, like keep everything else the same, but just add that little bit of depth to her character to make her even better. But unfortunately, Coho does not do that and instead just keeps her as the like rich airhead best friend basically, which, I'm also not mad at that either because I do like Alyssa, but missed potential. Also, now that I'm further in the book, I don't exactly know what to say about Lily because there isn't really much to talk about with her. I feel like even though she is the main character, like, she has the classic Coho slash Wattpad ridiculousness where the guy being a creep is a turn on instead of a red flag, but she isn't as annoying as Tate from Ugly Love, so at least there's that. Like, I wanted to bang my head against a wall every time Tate said or did something because she was just full of nonsense, like, just full of nonsense. But with Lily, I can at least tolerate her somewhat so far, and feel like her entire brain isn't consumed with thinking about the love interest 24/7. So at least that's an improvement in Coho's main characters. Like, at least we have that little bit of improvement. And then there are the Ellen journals, which talk about, what happened in high school between her and Atlas. The Ellen journals are just so unserious. They are, I'm sorry, writing your diary as letters to Ellen DeGeneres. And not just one, but apparently multiple, multiple full diaries addressed to Ellen DeGeneres. Like, please be serious. Please be serious. Now, I will caveat this by saying I'm gonna cut Lily some slack on that. Cause like, when she wrote the journals, the diaries, whatever you want to call them, she was in her early to mid teens, and let's all be honest, we've all done cringy things at that age, so whatever, like it's whatever, like, okay. And in case you're unaware, Ugly Love came out in 2014, and this book came out in 2016. So, just a little extra note. I just like to imagine Coho got backlash for Tate being weirdly homophobic and biphobic. So she was just like, wait, no, I'm not homophobic. See, I've got my other main character idolizing a gay person. See. Like, I know that most likely did not happen, but it's just funny to think about. It's funny to imagine that that is what happened. Like, I know that like that didn't happen most likely, but it's just kind of funny to think about. Anyway, let's move on to the next section of this book. Chapter 7 through 13. Okay, so I wrote here in my notes. Okay, I'll be honest, I think I should have updated sooner because I can't remember everything that happened since the last update, which just goes to show how memorable this book is, I guess. So I'll just hit the main points. So yeah, so I think I did this like 2 times where I kind of delayed updating like what was happening because I just wanted to get through it and be done with it as quick as possible. So, but yeah, so for this section and the next section, I think we're just gonna hit the main points. But yeah. Anyway, Alyssa throws a house party and Lily shows up with a guy friend to try and make Ryle jealous. He takes the bait and gets moody, and Lily feels accomplished, but then she finds out that he did something creepy and gets rightfully weirded out. So apparently, that night that they first met, he took a picture of her, didn't mention it, didn't think it would come up again, and then blew up and distorted that picture of, Lily, who was a then stranger, into like a big art piece to hang in his apartment. Yes, he lives with Alyssa, his sister. Don't know why. Anyway, but that's not the point. That's not the main point. Anyway, so he took a picture of Lily the night that they first met, and then blew it up into like this humongous art piece, just like hanging in his apartment, which very creepy, very creepy. She did not consent to that. Anyway, Lily storms off to the roof to think, and Ryle joins her soon after, and she's basically like, "You say you don't want to get involved with me, but then you're obsessed with me. Figure it out or leave me the fuck alone," basically. And so he like kidnaps her to his room and is about to have sex with her until she says no, and then he just makes her sleep in the room for the night. Let me explain that again. So she tells him like, "Figure it out what you want with me," and she's leaving the party like, "Okay, I'm done with it. Like just take some time to figure yourself out. I'm just kind of over all this. Like I'm going home." So he like scoops her up and like kidnaps her to his room. Like she's literally saying, "Put me down, put me down. I don't want to go to your room. Put me down. Like stop." And he's like ignoring her and just like takes her to her room. And literally everyone else in the party is just like acting like this is a normal thing, like, oh, they're lovebirds. Oh, they're cute. Oh, they're gonna go sleep together. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Creepy. Creepy. Hate it. Hated it. Hated it. No. 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 But yeah. And she's basically kidnapped and locked in that room for the night. Like they don't sleep together, but they sleep next to each other, just anyway. So after that ordeal, they agree to a trial run, which is just casual dating but with a fancy name. One day, Lily is going to take her mom out for dinner and invites Ryle to come along, so they all go out to eat. In a surprising twist, though, their waiter is actually the Atlas guy that Lily knew in high school from the Ellen Diaries. So, knowing that, she sneaks off to go have a little reunion with Atlas, which honestly should be a red flag. But now, pretty soon, Lily Blossom Bloom's flower shop has its grand opening and it goes splendidly. Of course, it does. And business is great. Ryle and Alyssa's husband, Marshall, yes, like the store, Marshall's, take them out to celebrate the store's instant success, like big booming success. Her really Lily Blossom Bloom's flower shop is just the top selling flower shop in all of Boston. Like it's just so well, amazing. Anyway, but now Ryle, Alyssa, her husband Marshall, and Lily, they all go out to dinner to celebrate the success of the store, where Alyssa tells everyone that she is pregnant, and they're all happy about it. Good for her. Later that night, Ryle calls Lily his girlfriend, and they make it official that they are a couple, which might seem quick given how I explained things, but also I think that they've been officially seeing each other for a few months at this point, so the timeline isn't as wonky as my breakdown makes it seem. But I'm also honestly not sure because I watched like a few other people and and like some of them say that like, oh, the timeline is shorter than this. Like it's only been a few days, it's only been a few weeks, it's only been a few months, like da 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 da. So I'm not exactly sure what the timeline is now. Like I don't really know. Anyway, as for the Ellen diaries that Lily is reading throughout the chapters, I now know why people say Atlas is a creep. And I don't think I'm even at the worst of it yet. Like, yeah. I'm reading my script that I was writing while reading this, by the way. So yeah, I was not at the worst part of it, but I knew that Atlas was a creep at this point. So Atlas and young Lily have become friends, right? And Lily is trying to make his homeless situation better, and he's trying to like comfort her when things with her dad get really bad. They've been hanging out after school for months, talking, watching Ellen, of course, etc. And lo and behold, they catch feelings and start dating, which is just it's so gross because he's 18 going on 19 and she's 15 going on 16. Colleen tries to excuse this by telling the audience that, yeah, it might seem weird when she's 15, but once she turns 16, no one will really care about the 2.5 year age gap. Yeah, bitch, we do care. She's still a minor, and he's almost 20. And I say it's Colleen telling the audience that and not the character trying to rationalize with herself, just because the way that paragraph was written made the intention so obvious. I was going to insert it here, but I forgot to screenshot it before I sent the book back to the library. So, yeah, anyway. But anyway, eventually Atlas makes plans to move to Boston to stay with an uncle until graduation and then enlist into the military. They're both sad about this, but no, it's for the best, because, yeah, and he eventually does leave. So, yeah, thoughts as of now. First of all, I really do think I should have done an update sooner. Because for half of these chapters, I was ranting about how Ryle is still fucking creepy. And if you're going to have a relationship where the guy is charming and then the mask falls off, thoughts as of now. So, okay. So I still hold the belief that Ryle is fucking creepy. I will say this, however. From like chapters 10 onward, I didn't mention this, but like there's stuff that happens after the party and they start going on like, casual dates and whatever. I can see at that point why Lily becomes fooled by his facade and falls for him because from chapters 10 onward, he is charming, he is goofy, he is kind of sweet in those most recent chapters as of this update. I still see some subtle red flags because I'm searching for them and am also a third party, but they're small enough now that I can see why Lily gets trapped by him. You know, once again, the charming parts come after, the party that he kidnapped her at. So, and all the stuff that happened before. So, he's still fucking creepy. But, yeah, that's just that's just the type of writing that we got to deal with. Anyway, I hate the high school Lily and high school Atlas relationship. I do. I do. It's gross. It's weird. It's disgusting. I don't want to hear any excuses. I don't want to hear any excuses. When I was 18, 19, I knew immediately that dating a 15, 16-year-old would be gross and weird and like had no desire to do that. So, yeah, I don't want to hear any excuses for his behavior. Yes, I feel bad for his tragic backstory and his homelessness, and he had a lot less flat red flags than Ryle, but that does not excuse the fact that he's dating a minor. It does not excuse that. Do I blame Lily in that situation? No, I don't blame Lily. She's a kid, and she is the victim in that situation. But I do blame Colleen for romanticizing it and trying to convince us that it's cute. We can talk more about that later, but yeah. I'm just gonna point this out because I keep comparing this book to Ugly Love since that's the only other Hoover book that I've read, and I read it very recently, but I notice Miss Hoover seems to like flashbacks and forbidden romances. Yeah, that seems to be a trend. Not dragging her for that, I'm not gonna drag her for that. We all have our favorite tropes. I just found it interesting. Like in the last book, she had flashbacks and forbidden romance, and then in this book, she also has flashbacks and forbidden romance. So I don't know. I guess they're just tropes that she likes. So yeah. Though so far her forbidden romances are either incest or pedophilia, so we're not looking so good with what kinds of forbidden romance she likes to write, clearly. We're not looking so good at what kind of forbidden romance she likes to write. So, yeah. Also, I'm going to say this as delicately as possible because it is a delicate situation. We do get, in the Ellen journals, obviously, we do get multiple flashbacks to, like, the domestic abuse that Lily was experiencing, watching her dad abuse her mom. We get like a lot of situations, scenes, violent scenes. Yeah. I'm conflicted about Lily's mom. I am just, reading those scenes because on the one hand, I understand perfectly why she stayed in the marriage with Lily's abusive dad. A lot of abuse victims stay in those situations because of things like the other person being a major source of income or even the only source of income for the household, fearing that the other person will come after them and stalk or kill them if they try to escape. Trauma bonding, being raised to believe that marriage is forever no matter what and divorce will send you straight to hell, etc. So I understood why Lily's mom stayed with her dad and kept trying to downplay the abuse that she was experiencing until her husband went after Lily. So at one point in one of the flashbacks, her parents get into another fight and Lily goes in to intervene because usually when her dad notices someone is watching, he stops and like backs off. So Lily goes to intervene and finds that her dad is choking her mother, like she literally can't breathe and is turning blue. Lily jumps onto her dad's back and starts hitting him to get him to stop, and he like flings her off of him and slams her into a wall so hard that she loses consciousness and has to go to the emergency room to get stitches. When I read that her mother told her to keep quiet about what happened and just forget it, I was just so disappointed and mad. I really, really was. And this is why I say I'm conflicted about her mother, because even though I just listed several valid reasons why abuse victims get trapped in horrible relationships, I personally feel like as a parent, when the abuser starts going after your children, that you need to do whatever you can to get yourself and those kids out of that situation as quickly as possible instead of just telling them to just, oh, ignore it, forget about it, you know. Maybe that's biased because of my own experiences, but I don't think it's right to allow your children to be abused also instead of just, you know, doing whatever you can to get them out. But that's where I am in the book so far. I'm almost at part 2, so I'll update you guys when I finish part 1. Yeah. Chapter 14 to 17. Now we're officially starting to see the red flags in Ryle, as if obsession and sexual harassment weren't already red flags. So, Lily and Ryle are a thing now, and one night they're gonna have, dinner at her apartment. Like, she made a meal, he brought wine, a whole thing. They're being flirty and sexy with each other and talking about, like, what's going on at their jobs, etc. They get distracted, and the casserole that Lily had in the oven burns and starts smoking. And Ryle, like a fucking idiot, why would anyone do this, drunk or not, reaches into the oven and tries to pull it out with his bare hands. And obviously gets burned and drops the whole dish on the floor and it shatters. Idiot. They're drunk, so Lily is laughing because he's a dumbass for reaching into the oven without a pot holder or something, like just trying to find humor in the situation. In a flash, Ryle backhands her and shoves her down so she hits her head on a cabinet and starts bleeding. Of course, she's shocked, and he tries to do that thing abusers do where they apologize and console you, like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I just lost my cool. I'm not really like that. And she shoves him away, and he cuts his hand on some glass, and there's blood everywhere from both of them. It's a whole thing. It's at this point that the narrative has Lily start making the same mistakes her mother did of making up excuses for him and downplaying what has happened and rationalizing with herself that it was just a one-time thing and he's not actually like that, etc. This is where the narrative starts shifting from him being cute and pining to him finally being treated as the abuser that he is. Cut to the next evening, her and Ryle are going out to dinner with Alyssa and Marshall at that restaurant she saw Atlas at. Turns out Atlas owns the place, and they run into each other again. Atlas notices the bruise around Lily's eye and the bandage around Ryle's hand and puts two and two together, which is a first because usually everyone in Coho books are fucking stupid, so putting two and two together is a first for a character of hers, but. And Lily freaks out because she doesn't want anyone to know. And if you're wondering why Alyssa and Marshall don't notice, they did, but Ryle told them some made up story about her slipping in the kitchen. When Lily slips away from the table and somewhere private, Atlas goes to her and tries to tell her to walk away while she still can before she's too deep and is trapped like her mother was. I like the sentiment there, but I didn't like that he followed her into the restroom and trapped her in there. Yeah, I didn't like that. Ryle catches them alone and gets mad, and him and Atlas get into a fist fight that has to be broken up. Ryle storms out of the restaurant, steals Lily's car keys so she can't leave without him, and then they get into a fight back at her apartment complex. By the end of it, they make up, and Lily is still making excuses and trying to rationalize his behavior over the last few days. The following day, Atlas comes to her flower shop to make up with Lily and give her a gift that he's been holding on to for the last 3 years. It's a signed copy of Ellen's book, sweet gift, and his phone number gives it to her to call if things ever get really bad with Ryle. We also finally get the final flashback Ellen diary from when Lily and Atlas were in high school. So it has been a few months since he moved away to Boston, and Lily's 16th birthday hits, and he comes to see her late that night. They have a reunion. They end up having sex. Don't like it. And her dad ends up hearing them and catches them in bed together when they're done. He grabs a bat and proceeds to beat Atlas with it repeatedly and tries to kill him basically. They both have to go to the hospital, Atlas, because obviously, and Lily, because she went into a state of shock at what was happening. The story makes it on the local news, and nothing happens to the dad. Actually, he gets revered for, protecting his daughter from the creepy homeless guy. And he gets angry at Lily for giving people something to gossip about. That's where the Ellen diaries end. Anyway, that's where part one ends. So, what are my thoughts on this section? Quite honestly, I didn't hate this section. This was probably the first time I've ever seen Colleen not romanticize abuse, so that's a good thing for once. Lily's reaction to what was happening to her did feel real, to be honest. Her trying to rationalize Ryle's behavior made complete sense because a lot of victims do that for various reasons. She doesn't want to believe this guy she really likes, who has been sweet and charming for the last few months, starting from chapter 10, might I remind you, could be capable of being evil and wanting to hurt her. She doesn't want to believe she can become trapped like her mother was. She wants to believe she knows how to avoid a situation like that because she's seen what it's like and how scary and dangerous it can be stuff like that. But this is how cycles of abuse go. It starts in childhood, and then you grow up and accidentally get involved in a similar situation and get trapped, and it keeps going with everyone wanting to believe that they're smarter than the previous person and that their situation isn't like that until it is. So I'll give Colleen that. I'm seeing how Lily fell victim to the trap, and the recent events feel believable to me. I really think if the early chapters had been edited to get Ryle's obsessive stalker behavior and him sexually harassing her that time, just like edit that stuff out and make him actually charming and sweet for the entire duration of the early section of the book, you know, this book could have really worked so far, because starting from like chapter 10 or so, and now we're at 18, I do see how Lily falls for him and ends up wanting to believe, the mask coming off isn't really what is happening. It doesn't end up working for me because you gotta make me believe his facade also. But with what happened in those first early chapters, I already knew Ryle was a bad guy, and it just, was a matter of time before the story itself started treating him like the villain he's always been. So, yeah, I mean, in the hands of a competent writer, this could be an actually decent book, but in the hands of Coho, it's just not. It's not. As for Atlas, I recognize he's 1,000 times better than Ryle, but I still don't like him. Here's the thing. If Colleen had either made Atlas the same age as Lily, 15 to 16, or made Lily the same age as him, 18 to 19, in the flashbacks, then I'd have no issues at that point and would love their forbidden romance. Like, I would actually be rooting for them at that point. Because everything else works. He's a nice guy, he's always there for her, their bonding feels genuine, their conversations are kinda cute. Everything else makes me want to like him and them together. But I just can't get over the fact that an 18-year-old was hitting on a 15-year-old. That's just weird and creepy to me. And it's so stupid too, because it's not even relevant to the plot. So, what even was the point of having one being legal age and the other not, instead of just making them both minors or making them both legal? It just frustrates me because I know the book wants us to view Atlas as the good love interest, and I a part of me wants to like him, but it's just like, Colleen, I can't get over the glaring issue you presented. Like, why? Here's the thing, too. At this point, while reading the book, I was thinking, like, oh, I don't know, maybe I'm the crazy one here, but, it's just something that I can't overlook. I don't know, maybe I'm just being, like, too over dramatic. Maybe I'm just being overprotective. Maybe I'm going insane. But then I watched, Rachel Oates' video on this book, which is a great video, by the way. I'm sure you've seen it if you're watching my flop channel, but if you have not seen Rachel Oates' video on this book yet, go watch that after this video, because she brings up a lot of things that I did not catch while reading this book. She points out a lot of things that I did not even think to consider. But anyway, I watched her video, and she was very much like, no, this 18, 15-year-old thing, it's creepy, it's gross, it's disgusting, he's giving predator vibes. And I was like, you see? Like, I'm not crazy, okay? Okay, someone else believes it, and all the people in her comments believe it too. Like, okay, I'm not the crazy one here. It is creepy. This age gap is creepy. It's weird. It's gross, right? It is. Okay, glad we're all on the same page here, except for the delusional asses on TikTok. Also, I feel like since I've been dragging Atlas more so, some people might think that I like Ryle better, but like, let me make it clear that no, Ryle is 1,000 times worse and can rot in hell. I just don't feel the need to drag Ryle as much, cause it should be obvious that he's a fucking piece of shit that deserves to get sent to the electric chair. It should be obvious. Anyway, that's part one of the book. Let's move on to part two of the book, where Lily and Ryle get married and we deal with, married life and all that stuff. Okay. Chapters 18 to 27. Yes, it had been 10 chapters since I updated. But again, at this point, I was very much just trying to like speed through and get through it because I just wanted to finish the book and my library loan was about to expire in a day or two, so I was more focused on just finishing the book and then updating. Alright, but chapters 18 to 27, we have begun part 2, and I was right. This is where Lily and Ryle get married. The major things to take away from this section of the book are that Ryle's parents come into town from overseas, so now it's time for Lily to meet them. Things go well, his parents love her, and everyone is in a really good mood. Lily and Alyssa are chatting later that night about how well things are going and how, at least on the outside, her and Ryle have like the seemingly perfect life with successful careers, being in love, in laws that love them, etc., etc. And how it seems highly likely that marriage is on the horizon. To which Ryle overhears this portion of the conversation and suggests they do a spur of the moment thing and fly to Vegas with everyone to get married right here, right now. And Lily agrees, and so her, Ryle, Alyssa, Marshall, Ryle, and Alyssa's parents, and Lily's mom all fly to Vegas for the two of them to have a drive-through wedding. We don't see the wedding. We know it happened. We don't see it. Um, I would think that would be a big thing. I, this is a thing with calling too. I noticed this in Ugly Love too. Like things that you would think would be like highly important. In Ugly Love, it was the graduation with Miles and Rachel. Their high school graduation. Here it's the wedding between Lily and Ryle. Like she doesn't show those things. Like just major things that you would expect would be important. She just skips over and is like, "Oh yeah, that happened." What? Colleen. Colleen, sweetie. Sweetie, please take a writing course. I mean, obviously you don't have to because, you're the most popular author in the world right at the moment, but like, for the sake of the craft, just take a writing course, please. Now, I usually save my reactions till after I'm done summarizing a section, but I'm gonna say this before we start getting dark. I'm gonna say this because it was cute. When Lily was nervous about meeting the parents and she was like, "Oh my god, your parents go to church and I'm not religious. Ah, what if they think I'm a blasphemous whore?" And the parents overheard her, and so everyone just starts being like, "Hey mom, this is my blasphemous whore girlfriend. Oh honey, you're not a blasphemous whore. You're a nice girl from what I've been told, etc., etc." I'm sorry, I did find that part genuinely funny. I crucify me. I'm sorry, I found that part genuinely funny. Coho does this thing where if she thinks something is funny, she'll just keep repeating it over and over for a few paragraphs, and usually it does not work and just feel annoying. But like this one time she did it, it actually did make me laugh. I'm sorry, it made me laugh. It did. I did think that part was funny. Anyway, back to the summary. So now Lily and Ryle are married and living at her apartment, and things are pretty good for a bit, until one night Ryle finds out that Atlas gave Lily his phone number, which sends him into a rage. He starts throwing things and yelling at her and storms out of the apartment. She tries to go after him to explain what happened, but he ends up shoving her down the stairwell and she hits her head and blacks out. A little bit later, she wakes up in bed with him looking at her wound, and his attitude is very icy with her, and, she kicks him out of the apartment for that night. The next day, he gives her some sob story about, "Oh, when I was little, I accidentally shot and killed my brother. So ever since then, I've just had anger issues because of the trauma. Forgive me." She falls for it and forgives him and makes excuses for his behavior once again. After that, things are rocky between them, with sometimes a fight and sometimes good times, but nothing physical happens for a while. Soon, Ryle surprises her by buying a luxury apartment in the same building as Alyssa and Marshall, and they move in there. Then Alyssa gives birth to a baby girl, which her and Marshall name Riley, which is literally just Ryle with an extra E. Very creative, I know. And everyone is happy for a few hours after that. So, Ryle heads home back to the apartment to seemingly go get rest after a long shift at work, and it's a few hours, before Lily heads back also. Now, I mentioned that detail specifically because in the 2 or 3 hours before Lily gets home, Ryle read something in the newspaper about Alice's business and then went through Lily's stuff and got angry. So essentially, Alice's restaurant was named a best local business in the paper, and in the interview, he said the place is named BIB, aka Best in Boston, to honor someone close to him that he used to know, Lily. So Ryle got jealous, saw Lily's fridge magnet that also said Best in Boston, got even more angry, and went through her personal stuff to find her old journals and read them, and then got even more angry that she kept the journals about Atlas and kept the magnet that he gave her for all those years. How he plucked out that one little detail and then connected all the dots, I don't exactly know, but um maybe it's realistic? I don't know. Uh, I'm not gonna comment on that. Yeah, it felt out of left field for me. It felt like mental gymnastics to me, but I don't know. Anyway, so when she gets home, he gets passive aggressive with her to start with, which creeps her out, understandably. And he like simmering the rage, like the rage is just like being kept down barely, and he gives her the paper and tells her to read it, and is like taking off her clothes and this, that, and the third, and then tells her to go to the bedroom, and she sees all of the journals spread out everywhere, and he's taking off her clothes some more, and it's creepy. It's very, very creepy. It's supposed to be creepy and horrifying, which it was that. So I guess, for once, Colleen did her job. Anyway, so he eventually shoves her down onto the bed and starts attempting to R word sexually assault her. She screams. He tries to cover her mouth. She bites him. He slams his forehead against hers, and then she blacks out. That seemingly gets him to stop because when she wakes up, he's no longer forcing himself onto her, but it is kind of left up to the reader's interpretation whether he did or did not assault her. She blacks out again, and when she wakes up, Ryle is asleep, so she sneaks out and tries to think of who to call for help. She doesn't want to bother Alyssa and Marshall because they just had a baby a few hours ago. She thinks her mom will be one of the first places Ryle will look for her, and she doesn't trust the cops either. Obviously, fuck cops. So she ends up finally using Atlas's number and calls him. He comes and takes her to the hospital to patch up her bashed in forehead, and it's there that she finds out she's pregnant. Because of course she is. After that, they go to Atlas's house, and Lily is reeling over everything with Ryle. She hates him, she loves him, she's confused how she got here, she hates herself for being in this abusive situation, she's conflicted over being pregnant, she's feeling everything, just feeling everything. After a few days, she goes back to work and Ryle shows up. He gives her his key to the apartment and says he's going over to England to stay with his parents so she can figure things out. And that's, where I was when I wrote this update. So, thoughts. First of all, why is Colleen so against abortion? Lily is not really happy about being pregnant, and in the upcoming chapters, she says she wishes it wasn't Ryle's. So, why is she keeping the baby? Why is she keeping it? Now, yes, of course, obviously, it's her body. She can do whatever she wants. But I'm just confused why none of Colleen's characters or anyone around them ever even considers abortion as an option. Same when I read Ugly Love. Rachel got pregnant by her stepbrother, and neither of them nor their parents even considered abortion. They just freaked out over the pregnancy. I'm just curious as to why it's never even considered as a potential option. Not saying you have to take it, although granted in both cases I would highly suggest taking it. I'm not saying, oh, go get an abortion. I'm just saying it's an option. Why is no one considering it as an option? Let's look at all the options and then make what the decision that we want. I don't know. It's very weird. It's giving pro-birth, Miss Hoover. It's giving anti-choice. Just oh, I'm pregnant. Oh, guess that's a thing now. Just gotta live with that for the rest of my life. Just even though I don't want it. Anyway, I do feel like this book is quite personal. That's not a drag, by the way. I'm actually seeing why a lot of people are hooked by this book, at least in this section. I am seeing that because it does feel authentic at times. The most intriguing part for me is watching how Lily is trying to process everything in her mind with her emotions, going back and forth between hating Ryle and loving him, knowing it's his fault, then trying to make excuses, but snapping herself out of that, feeling guilty and like she allowed this to happen to herself, but then knowing it's Ryle's fault, not hers. Just, the way her mind starts to twist things like, oh, you should have walked away sooner. If Atlas had kept his promise to come back for you, you never would have met Ryle. And Lily having to snap herself out of that headspace and remind herself that the only person to blame for the abuse is Ryle and Ryle alone. It's really interesting, and it does feel genuine. Oh, right, I forgot to mention. We also get one more Ellen journal. Great. So, while Lily is staying at Atlas's house, she wants to write one final Ellen entry to like get all of her thoughts and feelings over what has happened out of her mind and down on a paper. Now, you can drag her for being like 24 and writing a diary entry formatted as a letter to Ellen DeGeneres. You can fully drag her for that. But however, with the context of everything, I honestly do get why she formatted it that way, because it's how she used to do it as a kid, so it's familiar and easy, which is probably exactly what she needs in that moment, just an easy way to get her thoughts out. And it was honestly the only Ellen entry that I actually found interesting. Sorry, so I'm not gonna drag her for that, but you can if you want. So, yeah. Also, let me say this. Alyssa naming her child after her brother just with an extra letter, that was so damn stupid. I am so sorry. Like, I know it was supposed to be a sweet moment and she has no idea what her brother is doing to Lily. But even with that, it's just ridiculous. Her and her husband, Marshall, they're both ridiculous for that. Like, y'all couldn't just go Google some baby names? So stupid. Anyway, that's my thoughts on this section. I genuinely like some of the stuff about like Lily and the way her mind is working through all of this, which hell must have just frozen over because there is no way I just said I liked a part of a Coho book. Let's move on. We're in the home stretch. Chapters 27 through the end. Okay, so this is the final section, and it's basically Lily figuring out her next steps. She thanks Atlas for his help and they go their separate ways for now. She tells Alyssa about the abuse and the pregnancy, and Alyssa tells Lily to leave her brother. Lily tells her mom about the abuse and the pregnancy, and she tells Lily to leave Ryle also. So both her and Alyssa are telling Lily to leave. So good. Also, I do just want to say that the scene with Lily and her mom, I did genuinely like that scene. Then, when Ryle gets back into town, the two of them talk about next steps. Now that they have a kid on the way, he wants to be part of their child's life. She isn't opposed to that, but also doesn't agree to get back together with him. Over the next few months, the two of them slowly rekindle. They slowly reconcile up to the point where she feels comfortable having him sleep in the apartment in the days before her due date. Then the day comes where Lily gives birth to their daughter that they name Emerson, Emmy, in honor of Ryle's dead brother that he killed as a kid. Okay then. Interesting. And Lily comes to the decision to get divorced from Ryle because she doesn't want to take the possibility of Emmy seeing her dad, like, lash out against her mother like Lily had to growing up. And that's where the story officially ends, but in the epilogue, Lily and Ryle have entered a co parenting agreement where she gets the baby some days and other days he gets the baby. And now I want to emphasize that it's not specified anywhere that this was, ordered by the court. This is not something ordered by the court. This is something that they came to an agreement amicably on their own. This is something that they both agreed to. This is something that they both want. I want to stress that. We'll get to that in a second. But anyway, the book ends with Lily bumping into Atlas and the two of them reconnecting, seemingly rekindling their past romance. And Lily tells him that Emmy's middle name is Dory in honor of them. And that's where the book ends. Okay then. Let me first get this off my chest. I hate the ending. Okay? I hate the ending. For the simple fact that I'm sorry, if I was a parent, there would be no way in hell that I would ever allow my abusive ex to be left alone with my child. No. Like, you can be part of their life. Sure. You can be part of my kid's life. Sure. But you are always going to be monitored by either myself or someone I trust. You are not going to be left alone with this kid. No way, no hell. Absolutely not. I mean, this man literally physically assaulted Lily multiple times and tried to R-word sexually assault her. How does she know Ryle won't blow up and do something to Emerson, their child? How does she know that she can trust Ryle with her kid? I don't know. I hated that. I absolutely fucking hated that. Yeah, I did. It made me mad, and thinking about it now, it still makes me mad. I also don't think the ending accomplishes what Colleen wanted to accomplish with this book. Like, it's clear she wanted it to end with Lily breaking the cycle of generational abuse. Like, hello, the book is called It Ends With Us. But Lily is still heavily connected to Ryle and seems to have a good relationship with him now, in the final end. So, you're still on good terms with your abuser and willingly allowing him to be a major part of your life and your child's life. That doesn't break the cycle to me. That doesn't sound like it's breaking the cycle to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm the crazy one. Maybe I'm in the wrong for that. But it just doesn't seem to accomplish what Colleen wanted to. It doesn't. If the parenting plan was court mandated, then yeah, I can understand why Ryle is still being a big part of her life. But the two of them came to this agreement on their own. So, ugh, ugh. Also, I just want to say this. Lily and Ryle's child, Emerson Dory Kincaid or Bloom? Kincaid Bloom? Kincaid Bloom. Okay. Emerson Dory Kincaid Bloom is going to be so fucked up when she grows up and learns the meaning behind both her first and middle name. She's gonna be so fucked up when she finds out the meaning of her first and middle name. 'Cause, like, imagine finding out that you were named after your dad's dead sibling that he killed. Imagine knowing that. And then imagine knowing that your middle name is not only based off of a cartoon character, but one that your mom and her boyfriend that they met in high school, and they were having like an illegal relationship, and then years later and this is the guy that your dad was very jealous of, and your mom like left in favor of him. Your middle name is in favor of their relationship. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Emerson's gonna be so fucked up. Oh my god. That if there was a story set in like 20 years in the future, I would expect Emerson to have like 5 therapists just on based on that alone. Just yeah, no. Like I'd be changing my name. I'd be changing my first and middle name. Absolutely not. I'd be changing my last name because I don't want to be associated with all those people. No. Move across the country, move to a different continent, please. Oh my god. Anyway, overall thoughts. It was much better than Ugly Love. I will say that. And yes, I keep comparing it to Ugly Love because once again, that's the only other Colleen book that I've read. So yeah, I'm making comparisons. But yeah, it is much better than Ugly Love. I don't want to pull my eyeballs out and scream into the void every other page. So that's an improvement. Does that make it a good book? No. It just makes this book better than one of the worst books I've ever read. If you saw my May monthly wrap up, you'll know I gave this a 1-star rating out of 5. So obviously, I did not enjoy my time with this one. I was actually thinking of giving it a 2 for a while there, because the middle was okay and I could see why people enjoyed it. You know, at one point, I was kind of bordering on 3 stars, which wow, the delusion jumped out that day, I guess, because, like, why the fuck would this ever get 3 stars? I don't know why, because, no. But then the ending hit, and here we are, back at 1 star. Yeah, it's horrible. Also, I'm gonna say that personally, I feel like Colleen wanted to write about domestic abuse in a realistic way, but she ended up writing it in a way that victims hope it ends. Like, I was reading what happened after the abuse and the way that Lily told Ryle off, and how Ryle was apologetic for his actions in the end and wanted to change and be better, and how they were able to, like, reconcile in the end and all this stuff. And I just had this feeling of, like, this wouldn't actually happen. This is how people hope and dream that it would happen. Like, this isn't actually how it happened. This is just a dream. And I'm sticking this point here as neither a positive or negative because I don't know whether it's a positive or negative. Does it give victims false hope that their abuser can one day change for the better, or does it just give victims a bit of escapism, and a way of being like, oh, I can project myself onto Lily and feel like, oh, I'm telling my abuser off, and they're finally feeling apologetic for their actions, like kind of like that projection escapism thing, or is it just giving like delusional false hope that people can grow and change when they can't? I don't know. I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know whether it's a good or a bad thing. I don't know. But I just wanted to bring it up because it really did feel like Colleen was writing the aftermath in a way that people hope these situations will resolve, not in a way that they actually resolve. But, that's just my opinion. Maybe you have different thoughts on that, so write them in the comments if, you feel differently. But I don't know. Anyway, let's get into the positives and negatives. Positives. I love Alyssa. Now, after watching Rachel Otta's video, I do love her a little bit less because she brought up some points that I wasn't thinking about. But yeah, anyway. But overall, I do like Alyssa. She's an icon. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. To me, Alyssa's low-key an icon. Yes, she's one note and surface level, but I don't care. I don't care. She has the slay factor. I'm sorry, rich lady getting a 9 to 5 job just because she's bored is iconic. I'm sorry, it is. Like, ah. It's not the most interesting or deep character ever created, far from it actually, but it made me teehee, it made me giggle, it made me haha. So yeah, I like Alyssa. I didn't actively hate every person at every moment they were on the page. That's a huge improvement from Ugly Love because I just wanted to stab everyone in that book 24/7. Like, I just, no. But here, almost everyone had some moments where I was like, I like you. Or at least I don't completely hate you right at the moment. Another positive. She made me laugh once. Yeah, she made me laugh once. Coho keeps trying and trying to be funny, and finally, she made one joke that landed for me. The, oh my god, your mother's gonna think I'm a blasphemous whore scene. That did make me laugh. I'm sorry It did. Nothing else in Coho's writing when she's trying to be funny has ever made me laugh, but she got me with that one scene. She did. Like, she got me with that one scene. She did make me laugh right there. Next, there were times when I could see a good story buried somewhere within these pages. If this was written by a better writer, this probably could have been a really good book. Like, there were moments where I was like, damn, this really could have been a good book. Like, there were moments that I enjoyed, but Colleen is just not a good writer, in my opinion, so the rest of the book is just shitty. It is. I'm sorry. Like, there's potential here. Like, if it was with a good writer, I would like it probably, but with Colleen writing it, I'm just like, no. Like, because she's just not a good writer, in my opinion. She's just a really shitty writer. Like, am I Shakespeare? No, absolutely not. Like, but, still. Building off of that, I do enjoy Lily's self-reflection chapters after escaping Ryle and hiding out at Atlas's house. When she's trying to figure out how, like, to move forward, working through her emotions and trauma, etc., those moments within her head were actually pretty interesting. I will say that. Those few chapters were probably my favorite part of the book. I did like them. Now, we move on to the negatives, which just scrolling through my notes is much longer. Of course it is. So let's move on to the negatives. Lily Blossom Bloom that loves to garden and owns a flower shop. Just that. This is once again one of those things where Colleen is trying to be quirky and funny, but it just looks ridiculous. Lily Blossom Bloom that loves to garden and owns a flower shop. It's not that deep, but I just wanted to get that off my chest and rag on it like the rest of the internet because unserious, stupid, ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. All right, next thing, Devon and the Ellen Diaries. Now, I felt like their inclusions were just thrown in there so no one thinks Colleen is homophobic, especially if you've read Ugly Love. Devon is Lily's gay friend that briefly shows up twice in the book and is just there so Colleen can be like, gay people exist. Clap, clap, clap. Like, there's nothing to him, and he serves no point to the story. And then there's the Ellen Diaries. Now, a teenager writing their diary as letters to someone that they look up to is ridiculous. However, Lily was 15 when she wrote them, and I think everyone has done cringy stuff at that age, so I'm not going to drag her for that specifically. I just found it interesting that Colleen had her main character, like, obsessed over Ellen DeGeneres for the simple fact that it just felt like she was going, hey, I'm not homophobic. See, my main character just loves a gay person. See, I can't be homophobic, right? You believe me, right? Right. I'm not homophobic, right? Yeah, right? Okay. Like, okay, as a gay guy, it all just felt so strange to me. Now, obviously, I don't know Colleen Hoover personally, but just from reading two of her books, I just feel like she's probably one of those centrist people like my mother that's like, okay, I guess the gays can have some rights, but just like keep them away from me, and my kids better not become one of you. Yeah, yeah, just like stay away from me. But like you can have some rights over there. That's just my thoughts. I don't know her, but that's just the kind of vibe that I get from her, honestly. But yeah, Also, like, reading this in 2023 is just kind of funny because having your main character look up to Ellen DeGeneres, ooh, that aged poorly. That aged so poorly. I can't necessarily drag her for that because, once again, you can't look into the future, but like, I just found it kind of funny. Anyway, moving on. I don't see the point in Atlas as a character. I don't. The romance in high school don't get its major inclusion. I don't. I don't get the romance in high school. I don't get its inclusion. And I don't get Atlas's inclusion at all. He's more of a plot device in the current day than an actual person in the story. His only real purpose is to act as a counterpart to Ryle. Like, ooh, look at this nice guy being so sweet and caring to Lily. Isn't he so much better than mean Ryle? I was going to say we didn't need that because any intelligent person can obviously tell that Ryle is a disgusting human being. But then again, these books are popular with the TikTok crowds, and I think most of us can agree you kind of have to spell things out for those people. And even then, quite a few of them won't get it. So, oops. Sorry, not sorry. Mm-mm. Sorry, not sorry. Also, I don't understand why him being homeless was such an important thing. Him being homeless kind of felt similar to the way Colleen implements gay people by being like, homeless people exist. Clap, clap, clap. Because she didn't do or say anything interesting with it. No call to action or anything, or make like any commentary about our society and the way it treats homeless people. It was just Atlas was a homeless teen. How sad. But Lily brought joy to his life, so it's okay. It's all good. And then the age thing once again. Not sure why that was needed. Like, we couldn't just make them both 18 or both 15 or something, just something of the sort. Like, why did we have to make one of them 15 and one of them 18, going on 19? That's such a weird age gap for high schoolers, in my opinion. It is. I'm sorry. It is. It just gave me the ick. It really, really did. And especially the way that he was like, "Oh, how old are you?" "Oh, you're 15, going on 16. Oh, I'm so sad about that." He knew it was wrong, but he still went ahead and did it anyway. That's the thing, too. He knew it was wrong, and he still did it. Mm-mm. 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 No. Gave me the ick. Gave me the fucking ick. It grossed me out. It did. Moving on. The ending, once again, the ending is horrendous in my opinion. It really, really is. You just heard me talk about this a few minutes ago, so I'm not going to go over everything again, but I'll just emphasize that still being chill with your abuser and trusting him so much, where you feel your child is safe with him, is not the "it ends with us, I'm breaking the cycle of abuse" resolution that Colleen thinks it is. Because, once again, he has a temper. You know he has anger issues. You know he flares up and gets violent at the smallest of things. How can you be so sure he's not going to start hitting your child at some point? And I haven't read the sequel, nor do I have any plans on doing so unless this video blows up. Like, unless this video gets like a ton of views and me a ton of subscribers. I'm not going to read the next book. I'm not going to torture myself with that. But what happens when he discovers you're with Atlas, since all of his rage and jealousy stemmed from you possibly being with that guy? What happens then? He could stalk you. He could hurt you. He could hurt your child as a way of hurting you. Like, he could take out the anger that he feels at seeing you with Atlas officially. He could take that anger out on Emmy. I hate the ending. Like, why do we still trust Ryle enough to willingly have him be a major part of our lives still? I don't get it. It makes no sense. I hate it. And finally, really, the book just falls apart in general for me right from the start. Here's the thing, to really make a book like this work, where you have someone fall for a person who is not what they seem and they get trapped in an abusive situation, you have to make the audience believe in the mask also. You have to make us believe that the abuser is convincing and worth falling for at the start. You have to make us fall for them also. If while reading, the audience already gets creeper vibes from this person, like major red flag creeper vibes, not just, "Oh, I know that he's gonna be bad in the end, so I'm seeing the like little things that the main character may overlook in the moment." But if you make him like a stalker, obsessed, sexually harass the main character, stuff like that, if you make him so bad to that point where, to any audience member that has like one brain cell, we can be like, "Oh, he's fucking disgusting." It falls apart. If the audience is already getting major creeper vibes from the person, the book falls apart. Because the whole time we're wondering, how is the main character falling for this person? How are you not seeing these major red flags? You're already getting weirded out by him. How are you falling for this person? And that's what happened here. After like chapter 10 or so, Ryle does become charming and dashing, and I can see why Lily falls for him before the mask officially comes off. However, in those first beginning chapters, in those first 10 chapters before they begin dating, I don't see how she would ever find this guy attractive, interesting, or worth pursuing unless it's to pursue a restraining order. Because even if we ignore the small things that a person might not catch in the moment, like Ryle coming off as controlling in the first chapter, telling her to get off the ledge, there are still major things that any sensible person would recognize as toxic behavior, like him blowing up the photo he took of her that night they first met and making it into a giant art piece hanging in his apartment without her consent. Getting really pissy when she shows up at a party with another guy to where even the other guy feels like Ryle might beat him up. Showing up to her apartment unannounced, begging for sex, and refusing to leave unless she agrees to have sex with him. Sexual harassment and stalking. Hello? Like, you can't have him do these things and then expect me to believe any sensible human being would ever consider getting into a relationship with this guy. It ruins the moment when the mask comes off and the abuse really begins. Because we already know this guy is disgusting, so it's not surprising the way the narrative wants you to think it is. Just from a storytelling perspective that really got under my skin, and I really wanted to get that off my chest because from a craft perspective, it really bugged me. But yeah, I think that about does it for me. I feel like this book had potential and could have probably been something really good in another author's hands, but that's not the world we live in, so it just fell apart and gets a 1 star from me. If you enjoyed this video, then please like and subscribe to my channel, and also go watch my video reviewing Ugly Love if you want to, and while you're at it, go watch some of my other videos. Why not? Could be fun, could be a good time to pass. Anyway, tell me in the comments what you thought of this book, if you've read it, whether you're excited for the movie adaptation or not, which I did not even discuss because I don't want to, or, just anything else. Tell me anything in the comments. How's your day? I'm just kidding. Just kidding, but also not. Like, I'm nosy. Anyway, I'll talk to you next time. Bye.